right to still use explicit violence in your writings?
It's what I do, is one answer. I write horror fiction. There is a kind of curiosity that we have as human beings about our life processes. One of our last life processes is death. It's a legitimate subject for curiosity. We shouldn't be ashamed that the macabre or the morbid exercises some fascination upon us. I tell it like it is. If it's there in my mind's eye, I put it on the page. And that seems to me to be a legitimate way to write.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the second episode of the Written and Read podcast. That is the Horror Reader and Writers podcast. I'm here, Splatterpunk Award-nominated author of such works as The Slob, Scary Bastard, Yellow, and my newest book, Wedding Day Massacre, Aaron Beauregard. And I'm joined by my three co-hosts, Carver Pike.
What's going on, everybody? This is Carver Pike, also a Splatterpunk Award-nominated author. I've written my parasitic head lice book, Scalp. If your head's not itching yet, it will be once you read it. Written Grad Night, handful of other books. Glad to be here.
And also Daniel Volpe.
So a quick question, Carver. Are you going to follow it up with crabs?
I've got some insight for you on that, my friend. We'll talk after.
We need Aaron Beauregard's crabs.
Yeah.
It's that Red Lobster.
Dan Volpe, author of Billy Silver and Awakened in Blood. And
we got also Rowland Bercy Jr.
Hey everybody, Rowland Bercy, author of Pre-Thanksgiving Stress Disorder, which is in the Distended Table collection, Unbortion, and Payback as a Witch.
Wonderful. And we come together to bring you the Written and Read podcast, and this is a podcast that is going to spotlight some of the different authors in the extreme horror and splatterpunk genre that you may or may not be aware of. But also, I think, maybe even more importantly, to those who are aspiring writers or just those who are interested in the writing process. How do we do it all? How do you get that thought from your head into a Kindle or on a bookshelf? That is what this podcast is about. It's about discussing the community and also how you can do it if you should desire or if you want to know that process. But with these first 4 episodes, what we're going to be doing is sort of just giving you guys an introduction into to show you who we are. And last week, I discussed the book that gave me inspiration, which was Clive Barker's Books of Blood. And I also mentioned American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. And then the three of us interviewed Daniel Volpe to kind of talk about his writing career, how he started, how it evolved, where he's at, what's coming next. If you haven't listened to that, go ahead, go back, listen to episode 1. And on this episode, we're going to be talking to Carver Pike about the book that inspired him. And then also, the three of us will interview Rowland Bercy Jr. on his journey through writing, which should be very interesting on both fronts. But I will say, so that you guys don't miss any of these episodes, go ahead and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or you could check out our YouTube videos if you want to see our pretty faces in pearly yellows. We will be there for you. So,
yeah.
That's that. You like that?
I feel like there needed to be a yeah in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But you can expect our podcast to air bi-weekly via those channels. So every 2 weeks for those that don't know what bi-weekly is. But but I think we could get started. We're that's the intro. You guys know what's up now. But let's talk to Carver Pike, one of our hosts on Written and Read, about the book that inspired him.
Thank you. Yes. So I had to think about it a little bit, about a book that inspired me, man, because I went back and, of course, Daniel, you mentioned Goosebumps and stuff like that when you talked about things you used to read in the last episode. And, I started out reading like scary stories to tell in the dark. The younger R.L. Stein, but before like Fear Street and Goosebumps, but like the teenage ones like The Babysitter and I almost said Carver Pike, Christopher Pike's Chain Letters and stuff like that. But really, I think the book that inspired me the most, it was the first book that I ever saw truly kind of graphic sex in a horror novel. And I mean, I read this at like 14 years old, and it kind of flipped my shit, man. I was like, I'd never read anything, and I'm at 14 years old, you're going to read anything that's got graphic sex in it. So I'd been reading a lot of like movie novelizations like Halloween and Lost Boys and stuff like that. And then I came across this book, The Dominion, or just Dominion by Bentley Little. Have you guys read Bentley Little at all? Any of you?
I've read one or two.
Yeah, I've
Bentley
read one,
Little's
and it was.
I haven't.
And he's another one of those authors where people either seem to love him or just don't get him at all, kind of thing. And I feel like Bentley Little's like never mentioned, man. Like in the Books of Horror group on Facebook that I'm in, I feel like he's not mentioned that often when people talk about horror authors. And I just love his stuff. So I've read a lot of his stuff, but it started out with Dominion. And what got me with this book was it has something to do. I honestly don't remember a lot of it because it was such a long time ago. But what got me with that book was this. There was an orgy scene in a vineyard, and this teenage boy catches his mom like riding the face of some dude and shit in a vineyard. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, this exists in books? You know what I mean? Like, whoa, like, where can I get more of this? You know?
Any kind of incestual.
His book is pretty trippy. Like, there's one called The Resort where, and again, I don't think I even finished The Resort. I read most of it. And there was this scene where, like, a lot of his books revolve around mass hysteria. And usually it's in Arizona. Like almost a lot of his books have to do with people just freaking out. And there was a scene where these people were at this resort, and like all these husbands had their wives like chained up at the end of this at a fucking driving range for golf. And the husbands were just like fucking hitting these golf balls with their wives and shit. They were like chained up at the other end. And this is the kind of sick shit. I mean, I think Bentley Little would probably be considered extreme horror if he were writing these books right now. And he's really prolific too. I mean, I looked him up online because I wanted to get some kind of background on him, and there's really not much because he doesn't do a lot of interviews. He doesn't do much publicity, much in interviews at all. But they said that I think he's put out a book every year since 1990. It's probably slowed down a little bit now, but yeah, his shit is really kind of twisted. Like he has a book called The Store that's probably his most popular one, and that one almost made the cut. I only picked this one because it was the first one I'd read of his, and it was really the one that kind of made me realize, especially since I've written a lot of erotica and stuff, and a lot of my horror has very graphic sex in it. I kind of go back to thinking, well, if Bentley Little could do it, you know, I can do it. I can push the envelope.
Why not me?
Yeah, exactly. So
is the Store like a Needful Things kind of?
No,
feel?
not at
I've
all.
never read that.
No, The Store is it's about another Arizona town where this store that you can tell is kind of comparing it to Walmart. This store just like pops up out of the blue one night, and all the other businesses are being bled dry, you know, because everybody now is going to the store to get what they need instead of going to the mom and pop stores in town. And I want to read that one again because I liked it a lot, but I don't remember all the details. But there was a lot of really weird shit, like during the hiring process, just like graphic nudity and sexual shit going on and stuff like just his shit is like really far out.
It's like applying at Taco Bell or something, right?
Yeah,
right.
Supposed to hide in chalupas.
I thought it was kind of funny. I went and looked on Amazon at some of his reviews, and I purposely went down to the 1-star reviews of Dominion just to see what people said. And this is the kind of shit, this is what cracks me up about extreme horror and stuff, is these 1-star reviews would be like perfect 5-star reviews for our work. You know what I mean? Like, listen to the people. These are the things people didn't like about Bentley Little's Dominion. The first one says, "A truly dreadful book. I gave this 1 star only because I couldn't give it 0 stars. I have been a Bentley Little fan for years, but this was his goriest, bloodiest ever. Hated it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
His goriest and bloodiest, and that's why it's a 1-star. Like, next one. Go ahead.
It's like you got to give more than that. Like that doesn't really explain, because if it's gory and bloody, but the story's good, that really shouldn't matter. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, why you're reading horror? There's gonna be, especially him. I mean, I feel like you said, he has some pretty screwed up stuff. I haven't read it, but based off of what other people say, you would think. I see that too. Like people kind of go back and they read stuff that it just seems like they don't like. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like I had on one of my books, I had a 1-star that I put up on Facebook. I didn't put the review or anything because everybody has a right to the reviews. I never do that, blast reviewers or anything. But I actually liked the review. It was a 1-star review, and I'm like, shit, this is the best review I've probably ever had. It was like all the shit they hated about my book, and everything they hated is what everyone else seemed to love about the book. So it's like I'm sharing this shit everywhere. I did screenshots, put it on Instagram. I was like, I'm gonna get the T-shirt.
Well, you did that with something else too. Not with another. You read a 1-star review for another book, and I remember you put it up, and then I read the review and I was like, "Damn, this shit sounds awesome!" Like, you know what I mean? You were like, and that's what we were talking about too. Like when we start the show after this introductory episodes, that's one of the topics too. Take what are the positives of a bad review? How to take it in stride. You can learn from it, right? And you can also, it can also be beneficial. You know what I mean? Like sometimes, like that review, I'll always remember that review that you read, and you were like, "This is why I bought the book, because of this 1-star review," is what you said.
Yeah. I think it's the review, and we'll talk more about this later, like you said. But it's the reviews that are personal that hurt sometimes. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
for example, we write extreme horror. There's bound to be a racist character probably in a book at some point, because we write pretty vile creatures, And so for like when a reader reads your book and then calls you a racist or something because of a remark that a bad character in the book said or something they did, that kind of shit hurts sometimes. You know what I mean? But when it's a negative review that's making your book sound awesome, then hell yeah. I'll share it.
Yeah.
This one says nasty. This book was too nasty for my taste. A little too much detail of things I'd rather not read in the so-called horror novel. End quote. One of Bentley Little's worst. That makes me want to read it.
Yeah.
Plays well into a sick, valueless society. I am appalled at how many people wrote about this book and called it awesome. It's scary to think about how godless many in our society have become. Like godless.com.
Yeah.
Throwing that plug in there.
Shameless plug for Drew.
I like thrillers, and I've liked many of Bentley Little's books, but I couldn't stand to read this book in its entirety. If you have no moral values and glory and pointless sex and violence, then this is the book for you.
All right.
It goes on and on, but crude is crude, gross is gross, and disgusting is disgusting, no matter what else you call it. Anyways, I just thought it was funny. That's what a lot of these negative reviews are just like I said, what our 5-star reviews probably look like.
Right.
He could easily be like an extreme horror author.
You ever hear the theory about Bentley Little that he's not one person? That no. Bentley Little is actually a bunch of authors, and they all take turns writing novels. That's why he cranks them out so quickly.
Really?
I don't know if that's true. It could be like fucking, witchcraft or, a complete myth. But I've heard that more than once through other horror podcasts that they say that, Bentley Little is not a singular person, that it's actually multiple people. And
I love
the style is so similar in all the books. That's the only reason I don't know if I could see that. Because...
No, I'm not saying that this picture's not the same picture. I'm just saying that they use a picture of someone and other people write books.
His writing style.
Oh, his style. They said his smile.
Yeah, when you read many of his books, I've read a lot of
I'm like,
books.
I don't know. I don't fucking know who this dude is.
Yeah, his personal style. I mean,
beautiful.
I mean, dude, he wears Abercrombie. I mean, he's got to be the real Bentley Little. No, but I mean, like, his writing style, like, a lot. That's what I was saying, is most of his books are, I don't want to say they're all similar, but they're a lot about mass hysteria. They all take place in Arizona. Not that different authors couldn't do that, but I'm saying, like, his writing style, I think, is pretty similar across
I just
But
like
maybe,
conspiracy
I
theories.
guess, I mean, it definitely happens on the romance side of things. There's a lot of authors that team up and, pretend to be one author and stuff like that. So,
Roland, do you think that Arizona is potentially the mecca of horror writing, and that there's a cabal of writers in Arizona pumping out material? We're going down the rabbit hole today, guys.
We're going way down the rabbit hole, but I think you got to. Yes. I think
They're all chained to an anvil with fucking typewriters. That's all they're doing.
but that's pretty much it for my book. I mean, I could talk about like several of his books. He has one called The Association that I like a lot, and it's basically all about a homeowners association and this couple that moves into this neighborhood, and they get this book, and just the shit that's in it just gets more and more crazy as they read through it, and they keep getting fines and punished for things they didn't realize was a rule in this. It's really cool. But
well, because what I was saying for Books of Blood, I was like, it was sort of the imagination that stuck out for me. And so with Dominion, it sounds like it was the explicit sexual content that percolated your loins and
Put some lead in your pencil.
Yeah. I was like, got a 14-year-old erection, and I was like, bam, I want to be a writer. Yeah,
something's coming out of me.
Right? Get it on the page. Get it on the page.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe it shouldn't be called written in red. It should be called written in something else.
Well, I think that's cool though. I would like to comment briefly too and say that I thought like what you were saying in the beginning too about scary stories that tell in the dark, Goosebumps, Fear Street, Christopher Pike, all that stuff is fucking awesome. I absolutely was inspired by that quite a bit, and it's like we kind of had to pick one book here, so it's a little difficult, but
yeah.
I think probably all of us were very, I mean, anybody speak if I'm out of line here, but we were probably all like, I feel like we're from that same era kind of, and we all love that shit, like when we were younger,
Yeah, those Alvin Schwartz Scary Stories books were awesome. Like I still have them. I still have all my copies sitting on my bookshelf, and I got rid of all my Goosebumps, but I still have the Scary Stories to tell in the dark, and they're still timeless. Just the art in those, the stories themselves,
really?
They're just great.
Now, did you like the movie?
I never saw it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I had fun with the movie. I took the kids to see it. I actually had a blast with it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
On it because it was like, kind of cheesy kid-like horror, but I had a blast with it, man.
Carver, I'll say they did a good job with the look of some of the creatures, like because Stephen Grimmel's artwork is very distinct, and they did a pretty good job of capturing some of that stuff. What would you? Is that sound? You say that too, Roland?
Oh, definitely. The special effects. I don't know if it was creature effects or just like CGI, but they did a hell of a job at it. I mean, the guy, the big lady who was kind of
from the dream, right?
That's the first one I thought of too. Yeah.
Fucking creepy. And then the other guy, with
Harold.
The
scarecrow guy. Yep.
Yeah, badass. I loved it. You have to check it out, Daniel. It's worth it.
And even how they
soon as
brought
you
all
watch
the
American
stories together,
Psycho,
because that's not easy to do. You know what I mean? Without making it an anthology kind of, a collection type of movie. The way they were able to intertwine it and stuff, that wouldn't have been easy to do.
No.
Yeah.
Well, what I thought was great too was about the book anyway, was like when you're kids and you have that sleepover and you had the book, and some of the stories were just written to read out loud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the big toe. You know what I mean? Where's my toe? You scream certain stuff, and I was just like, man, this is awesome. Like it gives me a warm fuzzy feeling thinking about being young.
Dude, when I was a teacher, and these are high school kids, I told you I taught English down in Panama. And these are high school kids. English was their second language, but most of them spoke English very well. So, and it seems like something you do with like kindergartners and stuff. But just for fun, one time I put up on the projector screen like a fireplace, turned off the lights, had everybody sit on the floor, and then I read Mitai Dotai Walker, or I don't know how you say it.
That's like the Wendigo one, right?
that has the scream at the end. That's the one where the head comes down the fireplace and
Yes.
Comes down the chimney, right?
I screamed at these teenagers. They weren't expecting it because they'd never, this is in Panama. That's not like a book that most kids have read. You know what I mean? So, just seeing the look on their face because they weren't expecting. At first, they were like, "Oh man, I got to sit on the floor. This is some bullshit." That teenage attitude. I don't want to sit on the floor. And and by the end of it, they were like begging me to read another story and stuff. So, I just thought I'd share that.
That's awesome, dude. I did the same shit. I have an annual Halloween party at my house, and I did that. I had to do it with Scary Stories. I think it was 2 years ago. COVID killed the last one, but 2 years ago, I did the Big Toe, and a lot of people hadn't even heard it like that were there, But I just had to do it, even though it was like all adults. I was just like, I don't care,
Yeah.
We had
especially kids nowadays, they don't really get into those books and stuff, So kids now are just into Fortnite and shit. So
Yeah.
you can still surprise them with those jump scares, that they've never heard. So it's awesome.
Well, that was awesome, Carver. Thanks for sharing The Dominion by Bentley Little being a book that influenced you. And it was nice to talk about some of the early reading that we all did. I think we got to definitely revisit that shit later on, too. Because I'm interested at some point in doing like a young adult book or maybe even a kid's book. Possibly. I don't have any ideas yet, but I'm sure that there's going to be listeners that are interested in doing that too. So maybe we can have a discussion about that at some point.
Definitely.
But Rowland now, the man of the hour, the man with the macabre mind, Rowland Bercy Jr.
Fresh.
So we know that you have 3 published works at this point, but let's go way back before any of the published stuff. Let's just start. Like, we got to start at the beginning, right? Can you begin?
What do you want to know? Like, what got me into reading horror and writing it?
Yeah, I think writing. I would like to hear more, because like the reading, I feel like it's just, well, you could do both. Do both, whatever you think works.
Let's see. Well, I'll start with writing, I guess. I don't know. I think it's of course, I love horror movies, and the movies from like the late 70s, early 80s, 90s are my favorite. So there's this one movie I'm sure everybody knows, the cult classic, It's Alive.
Oh yeah.
Creepy ass baby. So I saw that movie a long time ago. That's one of my favorite movies, and I don't know. I thought to myself, I could write a book similar to that, but I wanted to do something that nobody was expecting. And so, like, for years I had in my head, oh fuck, let's do a story about an aborted baby trying to get back to his mom. And that's how Unbortion got started. And I thought about it for years. I was like, kicked it around. I was like, I can't do this. I don't know what the hell. I don't know how to write anything. I don't know how to publish anything. But then one day my sister, we were talking, and she was like, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to do anything. And I was like, okay, I'm going to show you. So I just sat down and I started writing, and, it came to me easier than I thought it would. And about 2.5 months later, I had my book finished. And then I had to go figure out how to publish it and get it out to Amazon and all the rest of it, get it edited and get cover art. And I did the work. I Googled Amazon, how to upload my stuff there. I Googled how to find an illustrator and an editor, which most of those I found on Fiverr. And 3.5 months later, my book was out there, ready for people, and people liked it. Yeah.
One thing I will say about Unbortion is I love the cover on that, because it's so subtle. When I first saw the cover and you see the baby in the carriage, and you're like, all right, it kind of looks like a normal baby. And then when you kind of zoom in and see the fucking hand coming down off the top, I'm like, oh, okay.
It's very unsettling.
That's what that is. Yeah, like because at first I saw it, I'm like, all right, that's it's an interesting cover with the baby. And then when you see the unboarded, you're like, oh, okay, I know. I see what you're doing now. So yeah, excellent book, and I really like the cover on that too. So whoever did your artwork for that was definitely spot on, capturing that scene in the book, and just that imagery was great.
Yeah, her name is Shahara Naomi, and she's from Italy. And I mean, she's such a sweet girl. I can't remember her last name, but I'll give it to you guys in the next podcast. But she's amazing, and she did the one for Payback as a Witch also. So I love her. She's so easy to work with. She was any kind of changes I wanted made, she was quick to do it, and prices was crazy reasonable.
Yeah, go ahead, Carver. You can go first, man.
I was just gonna ask, like, have you run into any issues with, like, I think probably all of us have at least gotten a review or something saying we should have put a trigger warning or something. Like, just the name on abortion is like a trigger warning in itself. It's like you read that title and you're like, okay, I know what's coming up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
have you like run into any issues with it, like people being pissed off or anything about it?
So far, it's been pretty well received. Somebody told me I shouldn't use that name. And I wasn't going to. At first, I was going to use "It Lives Again" or some shit like that. But then I thought to myself, "Fuck that! I like unfortunate." Yeah.
Who told you not to use it?
It was a coworker of mine, and I mean, she would have my best interests at heart, and she was trying to help. But I was like, "No, I love abortion. It just you never seen a name like that. I would never."
That's great.
Yeah. So I was like, "Fuck it, I'm going for it." And and then another person told me, they read it, and it's just another sweet, very nice person. But she was like, "No, I would have never let you write it that way." And she actually made me feel like, because I'm a man, I can't write about abortion or a sensitive subject like that. And it is a sensitive subject. But, I think I put my trigger warnings in there in the beginning of the book because at first I wasn't going to have a trigger warning, but then I thought to myself, no, I need to do this because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, nor do I want to make anybody upset. So, but I like the way it came out. I'm glad I went with it. I'm glad I went for the title. So I was happy with the overall product. Yeah.
See, but my question is, and not to skate off of your interview, Rowland, we'll get right back, but we're just on the topic. It's like, I mean, there haven't been trigger warnings on shit for fucking ever. This is a relatively new thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, should Stephen King books have a trigger warning? Does he have trigger warnings in his shit? Because he has some pretty fucked up shit in his stuff,
The
no?
only thing I'd say as far as trigger warnings go is that this is very graphic in nature. It's for a mature audience, something along those lines. This is extreme horror, but I don't break it down like you're going to find, when you go on a TV show and right now it says like profanity, smoking, like it says there at the beginning of the show.
Give the fucking story away.
I'm not going to do that for a book because I'm going to give the story away. I mean, sometimes the plot twist is the trigger. You know what I mean? Like, so how can I give you a trigger warning, an exact trigger warning, without fucking up the story? And you know what I'm saying?
Well,
I know everybody has triggers, and that's why I try to say this is an extreme horror. Be advised, it's for, you know what I mean? Just an overall general, you don't know what you're going to find here. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I do like, reader discretion is advised on my Amazon. And then in my paperbacks, I just put, at the bottom of my Amazon description, it's there in case somebody needs to, because like you said, Rowland, I don't want to hurt anybody either. But at the same time, we're not going to, conform because you might hurt a couple of people out of however many million. It's storytelling, it's horror. We're here to horrify, and some of those things involve incredibly uncomfortable subjects. And then my other trigger warnings inside the book, and it just says, this is not, it's on the copyright page. I don't put a whole page for it. It's on the copyright, and it says, I don't want that to be the focus of the book. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's not, because my books are not about super, it's not about the violence. It's about the story, the characters, their progression, the writing style, all these things. So I just put this book is not for easily offended people, are not the target audience. That's all. And it's like, if you're easily offended, just don't read it. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. And the one thing that Carver said, just briefly, he said everybody has triggers, and that's true. But you don't know what people's triggers are. So some people might be 100% okay with reading a graphic, violent rape scene, like the worst, most heinous shit, like Clockwork Orange, like the worst shit you could think of. But when they have a dog die, they might lose their shit. Whereas some people don't care. You see a dog hit by a car, somebody let's fucking drive right by or put it in reverse. So you never know what somebody's trigger is. So I don't think that even having a trigger warning, like I think in Billy Silver, I think I say something, I allude to that, like, hey, this says on sex and profanity. If this ain't for you, then don't come on for the ride. But like you all have said, we write some pretty heinous shit. And if you've read one book by us, you shouldn't expect to get something that, has cuddly bunnies in the next one. It's just going to get worse from there. So I'm pretty much done with any kind of trigger warnings. I did have a reviewer recently contact me about an upcoming book, and I did fill her in on some of the scenes in another book that's coming up because she had a traumatic experience, and she specifically asked me about certain things, and I didn't want her to be offended or upset. So I think that was just a common courtesy.
Because I've had the same thing happen where somebody's written me and said, hey, I really want to read your book. Can you just let me know if there's any rape in it or if there's anything to do with children and things like that? And you know what I mean? Like, obviously, if I don't want to hurt anybody either, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody reaches out to me, I'm going to be honest with them. But to put a list of all the negative stuff that happens in the book would, on the Amazon blurb, would just be counterproductive. Take away all your twists and everything. So that's all I'm saying. So, but anyway, sorry, we hijacked your question.
Hey, I have a question. I have a question for Rowland now.
Yeah.
All right, Rowland. So I think all of us maybe have a little bit different of a style or something along those lines. What's your routine? What's your writing routine? If you're like, hey, today I'm gonna write. What do you do?
You know what? I'm a slow writer. And that's why I asked in the earlier first podcast if you guys focus on one book at a time or multiple books. Me, I have to focus on one thing at a time. I have ideas for other stuff that I've written down, but like right now I'm focusing on my fourth book. I'm not going to tell you what it's about yet because I don't even know where it's going.
He told me it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you motherfucker.
It's fucking awesome, and you guys will never know.
So yeah, I have to focus on this one thing, and I don't know, it's weird. I can't get. I know that I probably should go through the whole process, get it done, and send it off to editing, go back and change everything. But for me, I have to have it as close to finished as possible before I move on even to the next paragraph. So that's just how I've been. I'm new to it. This is only I've had 3 out, and I'm working on a 4th. So I feel like I'm still relatively new to the scene, and so I'm still learning as we go in. And so I think it's best for me to just work on one thing at a time and focus on that thing until I can get to the next part.
So you edit along the way, you're saying? Is that what you mean?
Well, I don't do editing. Hell no. They'll have all kinds of punctuations. But yeah, I just try and make the story make as much sense to me. Or if this part doesn't fit, I have to go back to paragraph 1 and change something. I try and do all that before I actually work my way through the whole story, and then going back and doing it again.
Okay, I get what you're saying now.
Okay. What about? Let's learn a little bit about Rowland Bercy the person. What else makes you tick, man? Is it? I know writing would be a top hobby, and it looks like watching horror movies. I know we've talked about that personally a few times.
Yeah.
But what are some other things that you enjoy?
Just in general, I'm not a adrenaline junkie. You tell me I've been skydiving, bungee jumping, whitewater rafting. I'm still a big kid at heart. I'm 50 years old. Can you believe it? I'm 50.
I think you're a vampire. Right? Because you don't look 50.
What the fuck? I thought I might be the oldest one here.
No, I'm 50.
I thought you were like 28.
Oh. If I could reach to the computer and hug you, I would. No, I'm still a big kid at heart. And, my dad's the same way. He's 74, 75. He acts like he's 30. Like, I go home for Christmas and he grabs me. He's throwing me on the bed, wrestling with me. I'm like, man, calm down. You're going to break a hip or something. But yeah, that's me. I'm too empathetic. I feel people's pain, and I just like to have a good time. I've been meeting so many amazing people since I have started writing, and I'm learning so much. It's like I feel like a whole new world has opened up for me since I started writing. This is not something I even thought I would be able to do, and now it's been 3 years, and I'm still writing. I'm like so proud of myself and so happy because at 50, I think a lot of thank you. Now at 50, I think a lot of
heart
people.
thing. How do you do if I do
Oh,
this? Is it
wait a
gonna...
minute. I don't know if it'll show up or not, but yeah, there we go. um, at 50, I think a lot of people are get bummed down, and it's maybe not a lot. I'm not going to say that about a lot, but some people start to feel like it's all downhill from here. Not me. Since I've been writing, I feel like this is like I'm back uphill again. So I'm excited.
If this is what you look like at 50, then yeah, you're still going uphill, dude.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
At
all,
about 70, you might be at the midway point, midlife crisis. God.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think I would say too that Roland, you have a lot to offer. I think you got some good creative ideas, and to be able to start doing it at a later age too is really cool, and it adds a different dynamic. I started doing it. I consider to be start publishing around 34, 35, kind of late too.
yeah.
Daniel probably the same, right?
Yeah, I'm 35 also.
And but so it's cool. And I'm sorry, Carver. When did you start?
I was probably about that age too, because I've been doing it for 6, 7 years. I'm 41, so yeah.
That's cool though, because it really we do have a cool trajectory of ages and different starting points or similar starting points for some of us. So I think that'll be cool to leverage when we start talking more about the nuts and bolts of all the writing. But I think I'm interested to see what you're going to do next. But I'm glad that you decided to join us on this because I think this is going to be fucking awesome, dude.
No,
Oh yeah.
I'm happy. I was nervous at first, but now it's like we've been talking for weeks and weeks, and this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet you guys in person too. That's going to be
Oh
fun.
yeah, hell yeah.
Hopefully we could do that at a con at some point soon if this madness fucking ends.
Right.
I know. Roland, I have a question for you. With Payback's a Witch, I really like that one. I thought you had some really ingenious kills. Like I love the kills in those. Like I think they were just so things I've never seen before. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you with some of the kills and some of the stuff in that book?
Actually, you know what? As I didn't know if anybody would ever pick up on this. You'd have to be a huge nerd like me. I mean, I guess we probably all are to some extent. But I like Dungeons and Dragons, the actual RPG tabletop game. That you got to use your imagination for. So most of the spells, actually all of the spells in that book are D&D spells. And so I incorporated the spells into the kill scenes, and that's how I came up with them.
Yeah, those are some of the most ingenious kills I've seen in a while, and just the way you worked them in there, and they definitely all made sense, and they fit the story so well, and just the progression, and just how fucked up some of them were just were really really well done. And I didn't read the book; I listened to the audio version, and the audio version was just whoever you had for that. It was produced beautifully. He had a great voice. He did a great range of voices, and I think that it was just really well done. And when we get into the audiobook, episode that we're going to do, I'd love to sit down and pick your brain because I think you're going to have a lot of good material for us and for the listeners.
Oh, that's I think I've noticed that. We'll talk about that when we do the audiobook. But I'm having so much fun doing the audiobooks. Like from deciding sound effects to background music, but we'll deal with that when we get to the audiobook section.
Yeah, that was a great audiobook.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I actually I read along with it while I listened to the audiobook because you gave me the free audio code and I had bought it. So it was kind of cool. That was the first time I had ever done that. And it made it a really interesting experience because, like Daniel said, that dude's really awesome with his voice ranges and some of the eerie stuff in the background. Very very cool. I highly recommend it.
His name is Clinton Harristag, and he's been amazing. He's worked on 2 of my books. The third one I'm having converted over to audiobook now, which is going to be dual narration, so I'll have male and female, along with the sound effects and background music. So I think it's going to come out great.
I'm sure it will.
Thank you.
And so in addition to that audiobook, you said you're working on one other project that you're not really ready to talk about yet, but hopefully as the podcast goes on, you can give us an update on that. And,
it's exciting. We'll talk about more of it later. So can you stages of it very early.
Can you tell us what it's going to be as in lengthwise? Do you have any idea? Are you going for like a novella or like a novelette or a novel or what are you? Give us wet our beaks. Give us something here.
I don't know how if I'll have these. I won't say skills because I know I could do it, but like you, I think I'm impatient. So I think novellas for me kind of make a little more sense at this point. In the future, I would love to write a full-length novel, but it's probably going to be a novella. Hopefully, one of my longest ones. I can't remember my word count right now, but it'll be my longest one by far.
Great, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think this has been a great second episode. It was good to hear about Carver Pike's inspirational book by Bentley Little, Dominion, and then also to talk with Rowland Bercy Jr. about his career and starting writing a little bit later down the road. And I think we're going to definitely come back to that, more in the future. And just hearing about some of the audiobook things that you've done, very impressive. So I think, actually, you know what? Let me ask one more question before we wrap up. We'll wrap up right after this, though. Tell us about the award that you won for Unbortion.
Oh, yes. That was.
I want to know the details on that.
I submitted the book to the American Fiction Awards, not thinking anything would come of it. I was like, oh, they're going to look at this book cover and they're going to be like, hell no, we're not going to give this any kind of awards.
Creepy ass baby.
First I submitted it to the International Book Awards, and I got a message stating that it placed as a finalist, so it placed second place. And I was like, fuck, if I can get second place, I can get first place. So the following year, I submitted it to the American Fiction Awards, and I won first place. So I was crazy stoked about it. My first book ever, and I won a fucking award? What the hell?
That's badass, dude. What are some of the other winners of that award? Do you know? Or if you don't, it's fine. But I'm just curious.
No, actually, no. You know what? I could care less whoever got second place. I won first place. Fuck them.
Oh no.
Other years.
I meant other years. But I love how you shit on those second place motherfuckers. So,
dude, immediately. If you're not first, you're last.
Right?
Rowland Bercy Jr.
Piss off. Who are you? I don't know who you are.
Oh man.
Why are you even talking to me?
Yeah.
No.
Was there a horror category? Was there a horror category, or
yeah, it was a horror category. They had like about 20 different categories, and it was a horror category.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's a great accolade. I'm glad you shared that with us. And this has been an awesome episode. I do want to let people know that, again, this is the introductory where you're getting to know us as co-hosts. So the next 2 weeks, next week will be Daniel talking about a book that inspired him, and me talking about getting interviewed by the others. And then in the final week, we will have Rowland talking about a book that inspired him, and Carver getting interviewed by the rest of us to cap off the sort of get to know you first 4 episodes. And then after that, guys, right? It's a free for all after that, right?
Oh yeah.
Sounds good. I'm excited.
Enough talk about us. We could start propping up other people that we think are fucking awesome and talking about them, and then also giving out whatever advice that we can offer.
Yeah, awesome.
So remember to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and Spotify. That's Written in Red. And you can check out the YouTube channel if you want to see the video. And if you have questions, we're still taking those during these opening weeks while we prepare to launch the show. That's writteninredpodcast@gmail.com. Go ahead and send your questions. If you're an author and you want us to discuss your work too, you could shoot us an email. We're kind of keeping everything, and we're going to go chronologically. But until then, we'll see you next bi-weekly, and keep it 100% horror.
Wait.
What,
Aaron,
you got
where can
something?
we find your work? Where can we find your work?
Oh,
yeah.
that's right. We gotta do plugs. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. All right, I'll start then. So sure, yeah, you can find my work, Aaron Beauregard, at Amazon, of course. Also Godless, I have my material there as well. You can go to www.evilexamined.com and click the Aaron Beauregard Horror tab to see my books or my other podcast about paranormal and true crime weirdness. And yeah, you can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter if you want like a signed copy of a book. I'm always here to serve you. This is literally what I do right now. What about you, Carver?
Yeah, I'm at carverpike.com. I'm on all the social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff under Carver Pike. All my work is on Amazon. Paperbacks are on Amazon, but I'm also taking stuff wide. So you'll start seeing it pop up on other sites. I'm definitely going on godless.com and Barnes & Noble, Google Play, iTunes, all that stuff will be coming up soon. So you can find me there. Daniel?
Just like everyone else, Amazon, that's pretty much the be-all, end-all. My paperbacks and ebooks, they're up on Amazon and also on godless.com. Daniel Volpe on Facebook. You can find me there, or I have an actual page on there. It's Daniel J. Volpe, and I'm on Instagram because I hate Twitter. DJ Volpe Author on Instagram. And last but not least, the man of the hour,
All right.
RBJ.
So you can find me at on Amazon. You just type in my name, Rowland Bercy Jr. I also have a web page. It's www.rowlandbercyjr.com, and you can find me on OnlyFans. You'll see my other works there.
That's a different kind of plug you're talking about.
You got to tip right, if you know what I mean. But all right, now I guess I could do the cheesy catchphrase. Remember, everyone, until next time we meet, keep it 100% horror.